Okay, hello everyone, and welcome to day two of Start Your YouTube Era. Now, today is the final day, and as always, some housekeeping for those on live. Use the chat box, feel free to pop in questions, thoughts that might pop up, any aha moments. I love to see that. And not gonna lie, that keeps me excited, and it also can, help other people with their own insights and their own thoughts to keep the conversation going. But I just want to start off by doing a quick recap of day one. And I genuinely just think that day one is so important because at the end of the day, you want to build an unshakable mindset. The greatest challenge you're going to be encountering on this journey is going to be your mind and the emotions that come up within you. So we did a lot of mindset reworks of like how I thought and how I really see things from an abundant perspective that gets me going. But we didn't talk a lot about the emotions. That's also another big part of how do we address the emotions, the feelings that come up. How do you deal with the thoughts and the emotions when you're questioning yourself, when you're like, is this really valuable? Oh my gosh, my videos are getting like less than 100 views, or you're feeling like you're not cut out for this, feeling like this feeling of like, oh, like nothing ever works for me. Like, how are you dealing with that? Are you even acknowledging that you're having these feelings? Are you acknowledging these thoughts? If they're even, in your level of awareness, like that's so important. And that the reason why this is important is because at the end of the day, what I see people struggle with the most is not really the strategy, which most people think it is, but 99% of it is it really comes down to your mindset and the emotion set. So how you are feeling, the thoughts you're thinking, like everything internal is going to be reflected when you show up because first of all, if you don't even have the mindset and the emotion set, you're probably not going to be posting anything, right? That's the first part. But let's say you are posting things, but if you don't have this in, like alignment within the stuff that you're putting out there, it's not your best foot forward. Like if you're creating from a place of like not feeling good enough, like constantly in that, it's so difficult for you to put things out there, and the quality of the things you're putting out there isn't even your best. So that's why like day one is so important. Come back to that. And I do the mindset work I would do it every single day when I was like going through the tough times. And my mind was feeding me a ton of thoughts, right? And over time, it's now been like 2 years with YouTube. I don't have those anymore. Like I can create a lot faster. I can come up with concepts a lot faster. And it's easier because of the work from day one. Okay. So the reason that's so important is because the number one strategy is truly to not quit. Like that really is the number one strategy. Because if you quit, then like nothing is gonna work for sure, right? And I want to share like with you guys when I started on YouTube, the one of the first few videos, I was getting a bunch of these comments actually where people were saying, "Oh my gosh, like I thought I was listening to a YouTuber with 100K subscribers." And I had a few hundred, like maybe 200 at that time when I got this question. I was like laughing. I'm like, "Oh my God, that was such a nice compliment." But I'm like, "Yeah, it's fine." The thing I want to say is like, how can you step into your 100K YouTuber energy? Like, what does that look like if you actually have a community of people who you believe actually value what you have to say, they're excited and they want to hear what you have to say, and they actually value like your perspectives, they value you and respect you. How would you show up then and step into your own power because you do have that? Okay. So, with that all said, and hello to JV, let's now talk about strategy, right? So let's roll up our sleeves. We're gonna dive deeper into the tactics because I think that's important too, of course. After strategy number one, not quitting. So let's just get this question out of the way. To niche or to not niche down. I think that's a big thing I'm always hearing people say, do I niche down into this topic or should I do that? So in general, if you guys have been online, you might be observing two kind of spectrums of creators and two types of advice. And one is to be a niched specialist where you are so focused on one subject. You're only talking about that one thing. And then the on the other end, we have the broad generalist. This is the person who is very broad. They talk about a huge range of things, right? So one is going deep, one is going broad, so they're going wide. And let's talk about them. The niche specialist. What I love about the niche specialist is that you're focused on one topic and you get to go really deep. It's like you want to be the master of something, and that is so rare today to see someone go deep and really dive into, the stuff they're interested in. The benefits of niche specialist, I'll give an example, but over the last 2 months, I actually had two surgeries with my mouth. One of them was a wisdom tooth extraction. So I actually got a wisdom tooth removed by my dentist, and that cost me about $200. So that happened. And then I've also unfortunately been experiencing gum recession. It was so bad thanks to braces. So I had to see a gum specialist. So this is a specialist beyond a dentist. And that surgery cost me like it was a graft surgery. It cost me just over 4 grand. So like over $4,000. And that shows the difference between someone who is a little bit more general, more broad, versus if you go deeper, you're a specialist. Nobody has that knowledge you have. And so the people who need you, like me, I needed someone to help me out with my gum because one of my tooth was getting exposed. I had to consult a specialist and I would be willing to pay someone who had that deeper expertise, right? And so with a niche specialist, you can charge more because of the deeper specializations you have, and it's even more rare for people to be at that specific level. The problem people have with creating content that is so niched and specialized. Oh, and by the way, another pro that people often say is that it's easier to build a following to to please the algorithms, if you will, when you are niched, just because they know where to categorize you and they're like, okay, like this is who you are, and people sometimes like to be able to say, that's what I'm getting from you. Awesome. But anyway, the con with a niche is that sometimes they feel like you're so deep into a specific topic that you can't get out of it, right? And that was me in the very beginning. Actually, I used to teach investing. So I used to talk about stock investing, and that was all I talked about, personal finances. And after a year of talking about it, I was really tired of it because it felt like I was teaching grade 10 math over and over and over again, right? I don't know how you guys feel about it. I feel kind of bored when I'm just talking about the same thing over and over again. And so for me, that was when I realized, oh my gosh, like I can't just stay on one topic, at least personally for me. I think a niche specialist is great if you're like, I just want to commit to this, and you are like, this is my purpose work. I only want to dive deep into that, then by all means, that's awesome. And even if you do change your mind later on, you can still change your mind. But that's the niche specialist, and I want to give my perspective. So I'll share that in a moment. Let's talk about the broad generalist. We already said that the con is that the price of charging might will be less than a specialist. And so that's why with generalists, a lot of the times profit profiting does rely more on quantity. And with a generalist, you have, like a range of topics, and sometimes it can feel maybe confusing for some people, and you're not that deep in. But the pro is that you do feel free. You're like sharing whatever you want, right? And that feels very creative and expressive. And for some people, they're like, that's awesome. Like, I feel so free. I love doing the stuff I get to do. Not that a niche specialist can't feel that way. Some might feel like I love being in this category. They like that the constraints. Some might feel very free doing it with the broad generalist, but I like to just say like, why can't you be both? Like, I love the idea of both of them. Why can't we go deep and broad, right? So I like to have a few like quote unquote niches, or I like to have a few overarching things that I typically like to share online, and I don't mind. Like I love having a reputation around that. And I think it's not bad to have an identity and have associations or make associations with people where I think some people might associate me with like YouTube because I've been talking about YouTube for a while. They might associate me with side hustling, with having a 9 to 5 job because I've been creating content on those few overarching things. And sometimes I like to create content on health, like wellness and all that. And I like to have that. Those are some topics I love sharing about. And I think that as humans, I missed an M there, but as humans, we automatically do that in our minds. When we meet someone, we're kind of like, oh, I wonder what are they doing? Like, who are they and how can they help me? And we kind of just feel like, oh, that's the friend who's there for me when I need this help. That's the friend who's there for me if I have questions about that. And so sometimes I think it's great to have maybe some sort of reputation on a few things. And that this is the approach I like to have online. And there is no right or wrong. If you want to be specialized in one thing, go for it. If you want to be a broad generalist, you just want to create for fun, sure, go for that. And I think that's especially great if you want to just do this as a hobby and you're not the money part isn't so important to you. But if you're like in this space of like you want to go deep, you also want to go wide. I love being in the middle here where I have a few things where I love sharing about and I do want to go deep and I want to be able to help people. So that's kind of like the thing. I've gotten a couple of questions about it. That's why I wanted to just get that out of the way. But does that make sense? And if you have questions about it, or if you have thoughts about it, if you want to be a, I'm curious what you want to be actually. Pop it into the chat box. Like, do you have, where do you think you fall on this spectrum? So, I also believe that when you're in this middle, it gives you this space to grow and it gives you this space to like change as you evolve because who you are when you are like 20 is going to change when you turn 30. The interests, the things you want to share, it's going to change. And so I love being in the middle because when you have a couple of things you're sharing, you start to share more about yourself. And so your community can also grow with you. So just think about what are some topics or what are some things you enjoy? Like, what kind of content do you consume? What do you like to read about? What kind of physical stores, like when you go out shopping, when you go to events in real life, what kind of places do you like to go to? What do you like to yap about with your friends? And like, where does your time go? I also want to share that a lot of people tend to focus on information. And I think information is so important. Information here, I'm just putting a few out there, but these are the facts, the research, the explanation, your own insights, your own like opinions and thoughts that you're sharing. And while you are sharing that, don't forget about your humanity. A lot of people don't want to share, they don't like their humanity and they try to disconnect from it. But your humanity is exactly why when you embrace your humanity, that's where you embrace that, hey, I'm a human. I'm of course allowed to have a lot of interests. Like if you meet a real life person in real life, a friend, they might be talking about, let's say, yoga today, and then tomorrow they're talking about finance, or they just switch up the topic and they're like, oh, I'm like really excited about this and that, right? And so a human being is able to do that. So why can't you accept your ability to do that when you're sharing yourself online? Don't reject your humanity. And other pieces of your humanity include the values that you have, what is in integrity to you, who you are, why are you doing what you're doing, your personality, energy, your voice, your face. Like you don't have to hide that. Like that's all part of you and it's all beautiful. And you want to ideally attract people, build a community of people who love both of these, your humanity and information. And the reason why, if they embrace your humanity, which is through you sharing yourself, then that allows you to pivot, if you will, to pivot your niche in the future. Let's say 20 years from now, or even maybe 2 years later, you might want to talk about something else because you're going through a different season of your life. There's something else you want to share. When you have this intact, then that's going to be so much easier when you start to create differently. Okay, so let's talk about your YouTube title. So, your YouTube title is one of the most important things because that's the first thing people are going to see when they decide whether or not they want to click on your YouTube video, whether they want to watch it or not. And I like to classify this into two types. I like to do outer research, so it's more external, where I'm observing what is already out there. What's going on? What can I take from the environment and then incorporate it into my own YouTube title. And then there's another one I like to do, which is called like inner and intuitive. Let's talk about the outer research first. So this is just a process of getting inspired by other people. You are watching, you're doing some stalking, some digging on existing data that's out there. And I like to look for quote unquote in demand videos, where this is one of the strategies I like to do for external that I think it's pretty simple for all of us to easily do without any keyword tools or any like research or deep research. But in-demand videos for me are just like videos I'm like, oh, okay, I'm seeing there's a demand for this and that people are actually interested in this. So the formula I like to go by is when I'm looking for YouTube videos that are out there, I like to check for what are the view counts. And so if they have a higher view count compared to their subscribers, the number of subscribers they have, that's a good indication for me. So the high video view would be accompanied by a low subscriber count. And that tells me that this is really popular, that people outside their subscriber base, their community, are watching this. And this is optional, but I like to also check to see, are there other videos on this topic? Like, is there an like are there other creators who are posting something like this? And that's totally optional. I like to just like see, just to observe and gauge like what's going on. But an example that I have shared before, but if you haven't seen it, one of my recent viral videos, here's how I did the research for it. So I saw this video that had, at the time when I saw it, it had 100K views, and it was called Six Things I Did to Stop Wasting My Evenings After Work. And I'm like, oh, I love that title. And there's like over 100,000 views. Plus, the creator, Taylor, she had under 20,000 subscribers when I saw this video pop up. So that tells me that, okay, she has a low subscriber count, like lower than the video count, right? Because it's over 100K views. That means it's reaching people outside of her subscribers. And so that tells me there is a demand for it. And as a bonus, I was like doing a little bit of researching and I was like, oh my gosh, like nobody has created anything like this except like I just saw this one video that had these kind of like words, this kind of topic and title, and I'm like, okay, I love this because it's very much related to what I want to share, and I have so many ideas with this topic. So I was like, yep, let's go for it. Maybe this is the reason why some of you are here on today's call, but this was such an exciting idea, and I was like, that there is an in-demand video right there. And one thing I also just want to say before we continue is that just because it's gone viral or it's been popular for someone else doesn't always mean that it will be 100% for you as well. It's not like guaranteed. I also believe that, or I see that you could be posting the same video as someone else, the exact same video, right? And it depends on the type of community, the audience you already have. Because if they're not even interested in that, then unfortunately, the algorithm does dictate like who is watching it. If your community isn't interested in it, then the algorithm won't promote your video as much. I tend to try not to let those like bother me, but I also just want to say the learning here is that you don't want to just attract anyone and just post anything just to go viral. You don't want to just post anything just to get any sort of attention. You want to attract the right people who are actually going to be there, right? That's why I say, like, of course, in the future, we want to be able to grow and share different parts of ourselves. And that's why you want to share your humanity too. You want to share who you are. That's going to make it easier for people to say, I like Jolene, I like Ray, I like Dawson, and I'm just gonna keep watching, like I like them, so I see that they have posted this new video, not typically what they post, but I like them. I'm gonna watch it, right? So like that's kind of like the mentality when you are sharing your humanity. That's why like if we're thinking long term, that's what I want us to think about. Fatima says that's true. You want to attract people who see your vision. Yeah, and they're aligned. So then if you guys share the same values, when you incorporate something else, it just makes sense for them, and the people who are following you are most likely going to be very open to that. They're more receptive to that. So just wanted to point that out, but let's get back to topic. So I saw this video, Okay. And I'm like, okay, this is so juicy. Let me create something because I have ideas popping up. And so I'm like, yes, let me put my own twist on things here. So I want you to also do this for yourself when you go through this. Ask yourself, like, okay, what makes my experience different than other people's? What is my unique take on this video topic? And please do not watch other people's videos because I tell you, I swear, I did not watch Taylor's video. I had not watched it. It's really tempting because I'm like, oh, I'm so curious. Like, what do they have to say? But even till today, I actually should watch it because I'm actually really curious. But even till today, I have not watched her video, and the reason is I just don't want to be influenced. I had a phase, and I think a lot of us, even if we're not consciously aware we're copying, we might subconsciously copy. We'll be influenced. And I just don't like to see it because my mind might start sending me thoughts like, oh, Nicole, you got to put that point down. Like, that's so important. They put that down. So I'm just like, no, like, what do I actually have to say? I'm gonna write that title up there. How do I stop wasting my evenings after work and just spill out my own thoughts? Like, what did I do for my own work? And I'm just gonna post that, right? So that's what I did. And when I spilled that out on my Notion document, I realized, oh my God, I have like 9 things that I want to share. Like I had so many things. And I'm like, you know what? Yeah, let me just write that down. Okay, it's 9 things I did to stop wasting my evenings after work. And then I just like to put my own twist with my own thumbnails and stuff. But, and that was such a popular topic because I started to see, hey, I think this is in demand and my hypothesis was correct. Like it started to go viral. Like a lot of people started to watch this. And then what I noticed was a lot of other YouTubers jumped on after they saw this video. And now if you type into YouTube, how to stop wasting your evenings after work, you'll see so many videos about it now. Whereas before, when I saw this, I was like, there was like nothing, right? Except for that one video. So I really think that one thing that made it successful was also just really not consuming other people's content and just thinking, what do I have to say? Like, what are my own experiences? Because when you come from that place and you're not influenced by other people, that's where you really get to be unique and you have a unique spin. Okay. And afterwards, then you can go and check it out. I'm probably gonna go and check out her video. I'm curious now, but that's my way, and I highly recommend you do this. Another one of my most viral videos actually here was how I built 7 streams of income. So this topic of building new streams of income, multiple streams of income was really popular a few years ago. And how I like to put my own twist on this was I shared, okay, well, I built multiple six figures net worth at 26. By the age of 26, I have put that down, and that would help me be a little bit, more unique. And then my concepts in the video were about how I saw money as a more from a holistic perspective. The interesting thing is, I did watch some videos on this, but I wasn't influenced at all. When I was watching their videos, I didn't I actually was very grounded in my own opinions. Like I would watch them and I'm like, I have other things to share. I was like, oh, you guys are sharing that. Well, I see it differently. And the reason why I wasn't easily influenced was because at that point, I already had a really strong take. Like I had a really strong opinion that was built from years of experience and just my wisdom, just thinking about things about building wealth. And so, because I had that, when I watched other people's content, I wasn't really easily influenced. So, just do a quick check, a self-awareness check with yourself. If you're not fully confident and secure in what you have to say, don't watch other people's content because they're going to influence you. And boy, like when they influence you, it might take you a long time to unlearn what they have to say. And it will take you a long time to come in back to like what you actually are thinking of. So really my suggestion is just don't watch other people's content. Literally just focus on yourself. So that's an exception. If you are very like, oh, I know what I want to say, I know myself, then feel free to like observe what other people have to say. Feel free to observe their comment section to see what people are saying, and maybe they're asking questions that you're like, hey, I can maybe include that in my video because they didn't address this and people are curious about XYZ, right? But otherwise, that's my big advice. And okay, so now I've kind of talked about like how you can find these in demand or like the formula, but where do you find these videos? Like where do they just pop up on your home feed? Yeah, sometimes they might pop up on your home feed and you're like, "Oh," and then you can like apply the in-demand formula. But what you want to really do is you want to start typing things into YouTube. You want to start using the YouTube search if you have not already, because that is such a powerful tool if you are trying to show up on YouTube. You got to be typing into that YouTube search button, okay? And what do you type? One of the ways I like to do this is I go on to answerthepublic.com. This is a site where they have paid but also free plans, and honestly, the free is good enough. The only thing is you get only like 3 searches a day, so make the most out of it. So once you hop onto that website, you can click on YouTube here so that we can see what are people typing in, like what are people actually searching on YouTube. The States has like the biggest audience, and that's usually where my audience is from. So I might type in here 9 to 5 job and then hit the search button. And then it will populate a bunch of things here. And so here I did another one for a side hustle, and you can see here there's a color or there's a legend, a key that actually shares what these colors mean. But the redder they are, the more popular they are. How to side hustle, how to side hustle as a student, how to side hustle online, how to side hustle on Amazon. Like there's a number of different things. And these are some of the keywords you can start typing into YouTube to start applying that in-demand formula as one of the strategies or techniques to find in-demand videos. And you can see over here, there's a bunch of others. And if you scroll down, there's also more keywords and more ideas. And I would start jotting these down, like I would start copying and pasting, right, typing out the ideas that you have and start building out these keywords because that's really important when you build out your body of work with different videos. So that's one way, and this is a free tool as well. There are, like paid tools that I also personally like to use, but these tools are great. And if you do want to go more advanced and go more complex with other formulas of, I do have other formulas for finding more specific keywords. Those are a little bit more complex. And I would say that if you are actually intentional, you want to do the advanced work, I would highly recommend joining in 9 to 5 YouTubepreneur because that's where we do more of the digging. And that's where I also help you with doing the research and then share different ideas with you so that you can also apply that and get used to this practice. So that's the external part. Such a great way. Even if you just have this is already a great way for you to get used to using your brain with doing that external research, looking at what's already out there, making the most out of the existing data. Okay. So the opposite here that oh, I love doing. It's the inner intuitive topics. So this is where you're not looking outside. You're not looking at what are people like creating, but you are basing this off of like your inner intuition, like from within. You're creating your own videos based on what you believe your people, other people really need. And maybe it's not even out there, right? And I have some of my favorite examples here of the videos that were born from my own ideas was this one about you got to work a boring job. I didn't see anyone talk about that, right? And then I saw a lot of people talking about quitting their jobs and, I also talked about that, but I'm like, what about quitting, but then going back into the workplace? And then my lessons from that. That's really hard for people to replicate, right? So with these kind of topics, it's a little bolder and it's harder for some people to replicate. So that's also a pro where it's like there's a higher barrier for other people because it's kind of like unique. It's based on yourself. And this inner intuitive, like this muscle of being able to come up with these topics and kind of like have a hypothesis that people actually need it requires a level of like depth. You have kind of got to know what's going on in the environment, like what's going on in the industry, so that you know like what is missing out there and what you can bring to the table. And that's why I said in the beginning, you want to think about like what are you already consuming? What are you already interested in? Because if you are already in that industry, if you're already kind of like a consumer, then you know what's missing. You know what's like common. Like I already knew a lot of people are talking about building new income streams. They're talking about like investing in stocks. They're talking about quitting the job because they think, the corporate companies are a scam. It's like you're a cog in a wheel. Like I know all of that, right? But I'm like, we need something else. And that's where I was like, okay, these ideas came about and it's it's a muscle you flex over time. I would suggest if you don't have this ability yet, if it's like difficult for you to come up with your own creative ideas, especially if you are consuming content. A ton of us are so used to creating content. I want to challenge you right now, actually. Stop consuming stuff for like 1 month. Like dead serious. Like literally don't. Don't watch anything because that's going to influence your subconscious and you're going to be subconsciously copying people and you're subconsciously telling yourself like wow, everyone has such great ideas, they have such great content, I'm not good, because you're subconsciously copying you're or comparing. Okay, so I would say first thing is stop watching other people and then start doing that external research. Look at what's there and start practicing like okay, what are my insights, apply the in demand formula, and as you start creating, that's where you start building that muscle. You're putting out the content. You might get some feedback. You might get comments. You start reflecting and you start noticing what's going on in the environment. And that's where, like, over time, you start to develop this, like, oh, okay, I have this instinct, I have this inkling, and I'm kind of excited about talking about this, especially as you also develop your own thought leadership, your own thoughts, your own opinions. This is a whole ass thing that I feel like a lot of people, it's really hard to do. And if you're already watching content out there, you know, like there's a ton of content that looks really similar, a ton of videos, right? And so the practice here is like, how do I get really good at getting unique with what I'm saying, getting unique with what I'm thinking. And that's also another big piece of what I'm teaching, like my system for doing this inside the 9 to 5 YouTubepreneur. I'll share more about the coaching at the end of the workshop, but I just want to share like this is such an important thing because the contents of what you're sharing does matter. But anyway, okay, let's talk more about these. Okay. So a side note here, going viral is not like the sole intention. As we have said earlier, it's more about reaching more of the right people. If I'm a dating coach, my goal is not for you to like get on a date with like every single person out there. My goal is for you to get really or to talk to people who are more of the right fit so that you have these awesome connections, like great connections with a few people instead of a large pool of like random people, right? And it's also about developing a relationship with yourself. Okay. But what I've also noticed is the viral content. Here's the thing, most people are beginners, right? Like we have a surface level understanding of a lot of different topics. So like with stock investing, most people know, okay, like we should invest in S&P stocks or like if we want to be safe, right? We want to invest in the top 500 stocks and maybe like have an emergency fund. We kind of know the surface level of that. We kind of might know the surface level like basics of like physical health, of like working out, of like eating well. We might know a little bit about that. Maybe protein counting, like, that kind of stuff. We might know a little bit about this and that. So we dibble dabble on a little bit of these topics, but we don't go deep, right? And so what I realized is sometimes the viral topics tend to be the ones that are very general. They're the kind of surface level, and that's why it's gone viral because it resonates with a lot of people. But the content sometimes where I go deeper, I dive into more specific things, I find that it doesn't reach as many people, but the people that it does reach are people who are like, oh my God, like I actually get that and I don't see people talking about that. And because of that, I actually had attracted clients who were like, let's work together. I'm gonna pay you. like after seeing this video because of a video that wasn't viral. And that was because it was more like in depth. Okay, so I just want to put out that note that it's not always about like reaching a ton of people, although that can be great, right? Like if you're reaching a lot of people and you're getting more of the right people coming in, that's awesome. But I also want to say don't neglect these content that maybe don't seem like that popular or like viral. Plus, some of these videos they didn't go viral, but you know what? What I realized is over time, they're like racking up on views. So like this one that I just shared earlier. For the longest time, like right now it's at 10K views, but let me tell you, for the longest time it was like at 3.5K views, like under 5,000 views or something. It was like at 3,000 or something in the very beginning. And I'm just like, oh, and then for the first few months, it was just hovering at that number. And I was thinking, oh, maybe this isn't as popular because my other videos had more initially. And I'm like, okay. But as you can see on this graph, it started to really go so slowly. And then recently, if you can see here, there's like a spike. I remember just seeing this a while ago actually, and I was at like 8,000, and now suddenly it's at 10,000. So that was interesting when I just took a screenshot of this recently. But you see, there's a spike. Okay. Mind you, I will say somewhere in between here, I did do a little something. So I'm going to share with you what did I do to help bring this video up, to help it out, right? But the contents of it really was already really important. Right. So sometimes you gotta trust, like it was, I could have easily dismissed this video and said, oh, like this is such a bad video. I shouldn't have created it. But look, like sometimes it just needs time, right? That's some mindset work. That's why day one is important, right? If I did this and just gave up, that would have been silly, right? So you just keep on going. Um, okay. So here's another one, another example where I was like, posted this and then it's slowly gaining the views. And you see like there's also a little curve over here, right? It's slowly going up. And so, and it's not like mega viral like the other ones with like hundreds of thousands of views, but that's not the point. The point is like the impact here. Sure, maybe it's a little slower, but there is that impact. And sometimes like these deeper videos that sometimes might not initially go viral, over it's still very valuable. So please don't dismiss those. Okay. So that's just one thing I want to like mention. It's all in time. Like these videos were created 1 year ago. 1 year ago. Okay. I'm not looking at them feeling sad. I just keep creating. I just keep doing it. And then I recently looked back, I'm like, oh wow, like I didn't last time I saw this, it was like under 20,000 views. And now we're almost at like 30,000 views. If I give it another year, I don't know what that number would look like how many more people it can reach. But the point is, we're building, we're putting things out, and we just keep on going, right? And you can't judge a video. Like, this is why you can't judge a video so quickly. The only way you can judge it is just, did I do my best with doing the research, or like, was I genuinely excited when I posted this, when I created it? Did I genuinely try to like, think deeper about these things? Am I excited? Am I proud of it, of my work? So, um, I wanted to share that. And then based on the comments that I have seen, I want to share like what I think people really value today and what made me stand out compared to other people. And so in the very beginning, I was getting these comments when I only had two videos out and I had like only a few hundred subscribers, like 200 to like maybe like just under 1,000 because it started growing, right? But people were saying they appreciated the honesty. They appreciated the different perspective. As you can see here, some people were like, I really liked how you included some non-monetary value things, like having a good relationship. I was talking about having a good relationship inside a video about money. Not a lot of people talk about that. Um, People said, love the insights of this video, especially the ending, investing in relationships, friendships, and energy, which is not commonly mentioned in other investment videos, right? Love how you mentioned that relationships are a form of investment too. Both truthful videos. So that's why I say, like, don't watch other people's content. If I were really watching other people and I wasn't strong in my thoughts yet, I would have totally dismissed the relationships part. I would have never added that into my video, right? And so I want us to stop consuming other people really come back to what we are sharing, what we really believe in deep down. And some other things, what I've noticed is that people will also feel seen and they'll share their own experiences. And a lot of these, like more meaningful comments that I've seen, they're actually from the videos that were not as popular. Like these kind of comments where people are sharing about their own frustrations with their jobs, they were coming from these videos that were like not mega viral. And that really goes to show like the depth, right? Sometimes the viral ones are the very general topics, but sometimes the deep ones, maybe it's not, resonating with the masses, but for those who it resonates with, it resonates on a deeper level. And that's important. So just think about that as well. Like there, you can have a variety of different videos. Maybe some of them they resonate more with the general people, the general public. Some of them you want to make sure that they definitely do touch people in a deeper way. So just wanted to put that out there. Don't discredit, don't write off videos so soon based just on the numbers. Okay, so that's what I wanted to share with the video title. So that's if you just apply that, that's already awesome. Okay, like you don't have to like pay. There's like different tools where you can pay and do the further digging. But if you just do this based on the observations and based on your own intuition, that's already amazing. But now I want to talk about the thumbnail. And the thumbnail is the picture that accompany the title. And I like to think of the thumbnail as like the front cover of a book. Like when you see a book, you look at the title, but you also look at how it's presented, right? And you really want to put a little bit of effort into it because that does determine whether people want to pick up your video, whether they want to click in, pick up that book, and start reading through, start watching it. So here is one of the thumbnails that I had before. This might look really similar to the thumbnail I showed earlier, but I'll share with you what it looks like now. But this is what I had before. I wrote, "You have time advantage, high don't." Okay, for the video where I said you should be working a boring job. As I said earlier, it was really slow with the views here, right? And it started picking up later, and that was because somewhere along here I actually made an adjustment to the title, but also the thumbnail. And here's the adjustment I made. Voila. Do you do you see the difference? Like, what are you seeing here? What looks more appealing to you? The one on the right or the left? So I I've now transitioned over to the one on the right. And as you can see, like I've added in a new picture on the left side. And I also changed it up into a very bold statement, which says, you need to work a boring job, right? Compared to this one. And so this stands out a little bit more. And that was also probably why there were more people clicking in, they're more interested because the book cover is a little bit more interesting. It kind of stands out a little bit more. And what I like to think of when I do thumbnails, I'm a really simple person. Like I'm not so good. I'm not really into like photography and all that. Like I'm not at that level. It's really just been a period of time of practice. I've been practicing. Like I would set up my tripod, my camera, and I would just do the 3 second timers, self timer, and I would just like practice. I would take maybe like 30 shots 30 tries, 40 tries. And then I would look through and look at like, oh, okay, like what looks good, what doesn't. Usually out of 30 to 40, one looks pretty decent, one or two, and I go with that, right? And so that's a practice. I heavily recommend you taking the time to, like invest some effort into that. But one thing I want to share with thumbnails is I like to just keep things simple. And I think that simplicity is best, right? Because a lot of people are just scrolling through as well. And they also probably like simple. If it looks very chaotic, they're probably like, oh, that's too much. They're just scrolling through. I realize that people actually they stop at simple things. I like to use the rule of three. Because as humans, we do like things in odd numbers. And I think three is so simple and so easy. It's very clean. So what I mean by this is when we take a look at this thumbnail, you can see three things that stand out. Very simple. The first, it's the words. You need a work, boring job. Like, okay, that's one thing, right? And then you kind of see like this picture. I added this picture. It was actually from my first corporate job. This is my cubicle right there. And so I took a picture of that. I just put that up there, okay? And then the third is me. So there's like one, two, three main things. And if we compare it to this one, there isn't really anything like standing out. It's kind of like just this one word and me right there. And so this kind of adds a little dimension into it, if you will, right? I'll share another one with you in a moment, or actually, I guess here it is. So on YouTube, I don't know if you guys know about this, but you can also test your thumbnails. So in the past, they didn't have this. I think this started last year or sometime and it started rolling out. But in the past, what I would do 2 years ago is I would put out a thumbnail and then second day I would come and check what the numbers look like. And if I think that it needs to be brushed up a little bit more, I think the numbers could do better, I might go ahead and change the thumbnail and then re-upload a new one to test things out. Yes, you can change your thumbnails. So if I don't like my thumbnail a year later, I can always change that, right? So with this recent video that I recently posted, it was on journaling. And I've personally journaled for 20 years. So I'm like, that's something I'm gonna put in my thumbnail. I think that's pretty interesting. So if you can see here, I tested it out. I uploaded one thumbnail here where I wrote 20 years of journaling and I really amplified up the 20 and I put it beside my head right here, right? The second thumbnail here, it's a little smaller. It's over here. And so I was like, let me just test it out. Like, I kind of feel like this might be a little bit more interesting, but who knows? And as you can see here, the difference isn't massive, but there is a clear winner, like 51.7%. They had a longer watch time when they clicked on this video compared to that. So I basically just decided, okay, I'm just gonna set this as the new thumbnail. And sometimes you really don't know what people want to see. You just test it out. And then over time you kind of get your intuition of like, oh, how people want things. But even then, people are different and you never know. Things are just like, woo, apparently they like that, they didn't like this. And that also adds a fun element of surprise, isn't it? Like that makes things more fun for me personally. But let me tell you guys, like before this thumbnail, I actually wanted to do this thumbnail. I thought this would be more interesting, right? Me holding a stack of my journals like this, and it looked huge, right? I was like, this is gonna be more interesting. But when I tested it out, 60% of people were more inclined to click on this one on the right compared to 40%. And I'm like, oh, that's so surprising. But I'm gonna go with what people, what the public is saying. They prefer this thumbnail. So that's another thing. Just be more intentional with your thumbnails. And if you have that, extra time, I would say maybe test things out. Maybe in the beginning, you might not test things out. Like I didn't test things out for a while because I was getting used to, like YouTube was already a big learning curve. So I didn't have that capacity to test these things. But over time, as I got more proficient at the other skills, I was like, oh, it's not too hard. I can drag things, move things around in Canva. It's really easy to do it and I can quickly test things out. So I highly recommend that. And as you can see, I'm using the rule of threes again, right? The words, me, and the stack of journals. Same thing here, but I guess it looks a little cleaner here. Maybe that's why people are clicking into this. But, or maybe I look nicer. I don't know. So you get to play around with this. Okay. So that's what I want to say. Like the thumbnail, if you haven't been taking time to look into it, take a look into it. And if you have past YouTube videos, you can still play around with it today, right? Just like how I said that other video on like working boring job, I changed the thumbnail, added a little bit more spice. I changed the title. I did my keyword research, just like what I shared with you guys earlier. And I saw that someone, there was a video that they didn't have a face, I think, in that video. And I'm just like, weird. But their video was like, why you should work a boring job. And I'm like, okay, let me take that and add a little spin of like my own into it. Why you should work a boring job in modern day capitalism, right? So take that time to really think about, hey, am I actually doing my keyword research? Am I actually looking into that? Am I like thinking of like how I can add a unique twist to things? Am I taking a look at um, what's actually missing in the industry? Do I even know my industry really well? I actually want you to think about it. Do you know your industry? Because if you do, there are always opportunities, especially in this very crowded, like online place right now. It's so loud and it's filled with the same information over and over again. There is something people want to see. And if you're in the industry, you know what it is and you can bring that out. Okay. And then also think about your thumbnails. If you are new to it, try out the rule of threes and just play around with it. Okay. Here's another one. So here's another video that, oh, I shared with you guys earlier. 9 things I did to stop wasting my time after work, right? Initially, my thumbnail was like this, where I said, live 2 days in 1 day. I had that for like the first few days. And then I came up with another one. And I'm like, wait, make your 5 to 9 hours count. And then I just changed that. And again, you can see the rule of three, right? My face, my phone, and then the words. Clean and easy. And by the way, this is not always the case. Like just because you have three things does not mean like your video is gonna like go pop off. Um, I'm saying like in general, and of course there's gonna be exceptions if people trust your content already, right? If people are looking at your title and they're like, that's a really interesting title, I want to click in, or if they're just intrigued, there's that. But I'm just sharing with you some general things that can help you with just getting a little bit more intentional and start flexing those creative muscles when you're thinking about how do you intentionally word your titles and playing around with your thumbnails. But for real, get messy. I know I shared a ton of stuff, and some of you might be like, no, this is so much. I need to get perfect at this. I need to get perfect at that and that. No, like, please don't. Because the thing is, like, if you can't create it messy, then you honestly cannot create it polished. If you can't post it messy, then you can't post it polished, right? And the same thing, someone mentioned this on day one's call. I loved it. If you can't be a beginner, then you can't be a master, right? So you have to practice. You gotta get messy. You gotta feel uncomfortable. In the beginning, I didn't really put that much effort into my thumbnails. And that was because I didn't have the capacity for it. I'm just like, I'm just gonna get messy as long as I get it out there. You can always refine it later on, as an example, right? And in the beginning, I didn't in my videos, I didn't film B-rolls because I didn't have the capacity. It was just me straight up looking at the camera, talking. What I would do is I would just go on Canva, look for some B-rolls that other people had created that I could use for free, like the royalty-free ones, and I just used some of those, right? And that was good enough. And nowadays, after building the capacity and, like learning a bit, refining more of my skills, it's a lot easier for me. But it's because I took that time in the beginning to just get messy and just like do what I could. So just do what you can with what you have right now. One thing I really wish I did sooner was I really wish I built my email newsletter because emails are just such a great way for you to continue building that relationship when you're not posting videos. Because let's be honest, we're not going to be posting videos every single day. Maybe once a week is going to be a lot, right? But you can still write words. Maybe you're on your commute home, right? Maybe you're on the train. You can still type up a quick email newsletter or an email and send it out to your people. And that's also why most of you are on today's call. Or maybe some of you have become my clients or bought my courses, and it's because of my emails. It doesn't take a lot of effort to write up an email compared to a YouTube video. I want to share this, okay? The reason why I say build your email platform is because, and build your own business instead of relying on YouTube is look at this video. This is my most viral video. It's almost at like 600K views, right? It's like 599. Just took this screenshot freshly this morning. Um, and look at the revenue I'm getting from AdSense. It's 2,400. And this is on like over 500,000 views. And this is actually considered pretty good because the ads depend on the type of content you're creating. So if I was a humor, a comedy channel, the revenue would probably be a lot lower because they don't pay as much for those kind of ads. So what I'm trying to say is that it's not a lot. Like, okay, 2000s, wow, it's like awesome to have this, but you can't like live off of this. You can't like expect all of your videos to be, hitting 600K and, be living off of this. So I say don't rely on YouTube AdSense, because if you do that, you're gonna you have it's really dependent on views. Like there are people who make a living off of ads, but it's because they can, garner up hundreds of thousands, millions of views from each of their videos. And that's because of the community they have built. So I highly, highly recommend having your own business, build your own email platform, because then you don't have to rely on these views. You don't have to rely on a lot of subscribers. You're relying on the depth of what you have. And whenever you post something on YouTube, it won't always be shown to everyone. It won't always be shown to all of your subscribers because of the algorithm, right? But when you have emails, you can always email them and you can tell them, hey, like, I've just posted a new YouTube video and go and check it out, right? You can always email them. But if you post a YouTube video, YouTube doesn't always tell them that you've posted something unless it's gone viral or unless they have their bell notifications on. So I always say, like, use YouTube as a marketing thing, like a way to attract people into the main thing. You want the main thing to, I personally recommend like have your emails in place. It's in the middle for me. Like the emails is the core. Like my bit is the core, what part of the core of the business, because that's how I keep in contact, right? And YouTube is a way to have people enter my ecosystem, a business ecosystem. I'm not going to build my business on YouTube because it is very shaky. I don't have much control over it. I mean, look at that, 600K views and it make 2000, right? And this is my most viral video. Most of them don't have this amount. And I make more than this when I just like have people come into my business ecosystem. So I hope that really makes sense what I'm trying to share here. Um, Basically, just build your own business, have control over what you have. Otherwise, it's not really fun to rely on YouTube to promote everything for your business. Okay. So last thing I do want to share is the lifestyle portion. And yes, we're almost done here. Thanks so much for staying over here. But the lifestyle here is really important. If you're working a 9 to 5 job, I I've highlighted a few great moments you want to be aware of. You've just got to be a little bit more creative with your time. The in-between transit moments, the white spaces in between, before 9 a.m. hits, after your work, and in the weekends. So I have created some YouTube videos on these in case you want to check those out. But the in-between moments, when you're on the commute, for example, like whenever I'm on the bus ride to my yoga class, I like to take out my phone and just jot down like ideas that come up, or if I have some key points I want to share on my next YouTube video, I'm really taking advantage of that time and just like typing it in. You don't always have to do it, but I'm saying like some moments can be really great for that. And then I always like to collect things on my iPhone notes app. You could also, like, if you want to bring a little journal or a sticky note, sticky pad, you can start writing things down so that on the days where you sit your butt down and you start writing out that YouTube script or YouTube outline, you already have a few pointers and you can dive straight in instead of sitting there twiddling your thumbs and you're like, oh, what should I write? Like, no, you already have something to do and you just dive straight in because those are like, your time is so precious. Just get straight into it. There's no time to delay. I personally highly recommend doing it. I like doing things in the morning because of my focus. You can still do it after in the evenings after work. It's just that you have to be intentional with recharging yourself so that you're still able to focus when you are doing that. And the weekends, I know that it's not fun to be doing this kind of work. So I would just say, like, see how you like to work and play around with the schedules, experiment here. The main thing is just getting a little bit more intentional because I used to think YouTube would take so long, but when you just get intentional with, okay, this is the time I'm gonna block off. I'm just gonna take this time to do this kind of like editing. Bam, bam, bam. Time can goes by. Can you can get things done within a short period of time actually if you're really intentional. When you sit down and you're like, I already have notes, I already have key points. It's so easy to just like flush that out. So Please be intentional with your lifestyle. Think about your energy levels. And there are other factors like what are you eating, right? Are you eating right before bedtime? That's going to impact your sleep. When are you sleeping? How many hours of sleep are you getting? What kind of quality of sleep? Sleep is one of the big things actually for me, and like what I always tell my clients and what I always share online. It's just like that's really key for me being able to wake up and like be in that zone to just get stuff done. So, and if you're a 9 to 5er, especially, like you really got to be intentional because then you want to be sharp for your job and also this work. So, I wanted to share that, and I want to check in. How are we all feeling? And I would love to ask you a question. How would you like to be guided through this step by step, arm in arm, with a deep personalized support to confidently create on YouTube? Is it a yes to guide through all of this? I'd love to invite you to the 9 to 5 YouTubepreneur. We're going to dive deeper into, I just want to share more of what this is all about. This is the program to help you build your YouTube business while you're holding down a job without the burnout. And as I've shared on day one, it is a 6 month coaching container. You're going to get weekly private calls with me. There's unlimited WhatsApp, text, voice messaging support. There's a curriculum that you'll have access to that I'm building out as we are building this program. And you'll have access to group workshops and events. And within this, you're really going to be developing the skills of like how to think and coach yourself, how to be emotionally grounded with yourself as you're on this YouTube journey so that, you're not burnt out, you're not constantly feeling drained and devastated about who you are. I want you to feel confident. I want you to feel good and peaceful, no matter what the numbers look like, no matter what you believe about yourself, and learn how to shift those states. You're going to be creating content that you feel proud of. You're making people feel seen, and you're going to learn my system to extracting, the juicy insights from yourself, learning how to speak your own truth and do the deeper keyword research there. And of course, the lifestyle part is always important, balancing your job while building up your YouTube, but you're also really focused, energized, and maybe even more productive, right? And so, what this really looks like is, some of our calls might literally be a screen recording. And maybe you're editing your videos and you're like, I need help on this. Maybe we are taking a look at your YouTube script or outline and seeing where we can change things up to spice things up without, having some AI slop. I might be WhatsApping you and sharing with you, like, here are some videos I think you can create that can really pop off for you or can be really good. I would like you to add this in. I think this experience you have is great. Like those are the ways that I can like help you on a deeper level. So you get into that mindset of like, how do I think like a YouTuber? How do I like get really flexible and creative with like all the stuff that I have? And you might be WhatsApping me because you just had a drop of confidence. And that's where like I'm gonna jump in to like pick you back up and share with you and like coach you through it, but also get you to practice. How do you coach yourself? How can you take good care of yourself? Because entrepreneurship is also about like getting into that mentality of like, how do I bring myself back up? How do I take responsibility and accountability when I don't have a boss telling me what to do? So that's a look of like what the 9 to 5 program looks like. And I want to share the investment before we wrap things up. So the full price is 3,500, but I am doing a beta round to kick things off. And so the beta round is $1,000 off. It is 2,500 for the full 6 months. Um, there's also flexible payment plans, so 420 a month for 6 months. And I'm really excited for this. So there are 7 spots available for the beta investment just because I've got to put my investment of my time and focus into helping you with your videos, into the whole process that you have. And when you join the beta round, you get the beta price. And as the curriculum develops, you'll also have, the final version when the curriculum is finalized. So the curriculum is basically everything we've talked about from day one to day two with the mindset, the strategies of the keywords, thumbnails. We'll do more into the filming and the editing part. That's also in here. And we'll also be doing the emotional work. Like, how do you ground yourself emotionally? How do you regulate your nervous system and the tools for managing like what's going on internally? So that's that's the 9 to 5 YouTubepreneur program. And I just want to say, like, I would love for you to imagine like 6 months later, we're early into 2026, mid 2026. You're waking up, you're a YouTubepreneur, you got your 9 to 5 job, and you have even more focus. You have even more confidence when you step into your job because of this side hustle. You have the content foundations, and you're genuinely feeling good with who you are. You're proud of yourself. And the most important thing is the content you've been putting out is steadily growing and building for you. And so that is the goal. That's the vision with the YouTubepreneur to help you build something. And that starts with now. So we kick off in September. I'm going to be sharing more about this as time goes on, but I want us to be aware of that. And I'm going to put I'm going to share the link with you guys later on in the emails, but that is a wrap for today's call. Thank you guys for sticking until the end. Do we have any questions before we wrap up, or you can share a takeaway? I'd love to hear what you guys have gained. I know Ray's driving or on the car. Oh wait, no, Ray, you didn't say you were driving. You just said you'll be listening in. Okay. Dawson says great practical insights. Amazing. Ray, keywords helped a lot. Yes. If you haven't been using the YouTube search, that's your best friend. Okay. So that's it for today. Thank you all for staying until the end, and I look forward to hearing from you guys. Bye.